Hey, what's happening? Welcome back to the James Kennedy podcast. I hope you're all doing awesome. Just want to say a massive thank you to everybody that's chipped in for the band's crowdfunder so far. We appreciate every single last one of you, and you are literally enabling James Kennedy and the Underdogs to do our crazy thing, man. And we are going to be hitting the road in a matter of weeks to play new songs of the new album. We got new videos coming. We got loads of new stuff coming. It's going to be a kick-ass year, man. We cannot wait to see all of you sexy people again. But that's about all I got to report at this end, to be honest, man. We're just like work at the moment, getting everything ready for the album. So I think today we'll just cut to the chase, bring on the guests, because boy, we got a good one for you. And let's see what's happening in their world. If you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast, come on, get with it, man. What are you doing? This thing is free. It takes literally a second to just click subscribe, click follow, click the star rating, whatever you got to do. Just click something. Doesn't take you long, costs you no money, and really helps me out. And it means you don't miss any of these awesome episodes, because we got some killer ones are coming. So click that damn button, man. Help a brother out. Okay, let's do it. Today's guest can only be described as a guitar guru, a musical master of many genres who's been giving us all the good stuff for over 5 decades. And he certainly shows no sign of slowing down anytime soon. I don't have him for very long, so let's get into it and welcome onto the show, Mr. Robben Ford. How the devil are you, sir?
I'm fine. I'm in the big transition right now of moving from London, UK, where we've been living for about 3 years plus, but we're moving to Italy, and I'm right now in Tuscany doing some visa things.
Oh, tough life.
Well, it's not easy. Let me tell you something. It's very difficult to move from one country to another, and the Italian bureaucracy is crazy. So
I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. But I think it's going to be worth the payoff, because that's a beautiful part of the world, man.
Yeah, and wonderful people, man.
Yeah. Oh, that is my dream. That is my dream, dude. To move to somewhere Europe on the Mediterranean. So, yeah. Maybe I'll tap you up at some point in the future about that bureaucracy you mentioned. But we've got to talk about your new album. 2 Shades of Blue is coming out in a matter of weeks. What I've heard so far sounds absolutely incredible. Can you tell us about the album, please? Well,
it's kind of in 2 parts. Even the title 2 Shades of Blue wasn't due to the way it ended up, but it sort of fit. To explain, basically the record started off as a tribute to Jeff Beck and to Alexander Dumble, the gent who made my amplifiers for many years. Both of them are gone. And the Jeff Beck's playing really came to me later in life. He wasn't a big influence in my real development, So the desire to tribute him, included being able to kind of approach the guitar in a different way, to write music in a different way. And I was in need of some fresh, inspiration. So this really was something I really enjoyed, the concept. I put the band together. I started playing the Stratocaster, working with the vibrato bar. This was new for me. Working with pedals much more, because I'm pretty much a guitar into the amplifier guy. And writing, instrumental music that came out of Jeff Beck's approach, I felt anyway. The best I could do. Not being able to play like him, I could tribute him,
Yeah, well, that's a tall order right there, man. I mean, Jeff Beck is, he's got such a unique thing that he does, it's...
He's the cat.
Oh, 100%.
Exactly.
100%,
and
yeah.
So I don't claim to play like him, but just be influenced and tribute him. So I put together, what I considered an amazing band, and we recorded at Sweetwater Studios in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is an incredible facility that I've just come to really love, and the people there are wonderful, Sweetwater. And we went in there for a week and recorded, and I only came away with 3 things that I really felt I was willing to put on a record. So that was a little bit of a disappointment, and I came back to the UK, and I'm like, so what am I going to do? And I put together my British group, which is primarily Ianto Thomas is the drummer, Johnny Henderson on B3 organ, we went into the studio and recorded more along the lines of what I normally do, blues oriented and vocal music, not just instrumental music. So it became 2 records in one. And I'm actually pretty happy about that. When we went out on the road and were playing primarily the instrumental music, and I toured 2 weeks in Italy after recording the record. And long before it came out, clearly, I missed the vocals myself. I just felt like, I know that people like to hear the singing. They like to hear songs, and then play. So I'm happy, even though it originally was meant to be, a pretty much straight up instrumental tribute to Jeff Beck album, that it became more than that in terms of the variety.
Right. Wow.
In the music. And so that's how the record evolved.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yes, it really is an amalgamation of lots of different things coming together in what is a really cohesive sound from the bits that I've heard so far.
It's nice to hear you say that, because everyone says that. Right. Everyone's kind of surprised. Why does this work? Because it's disparate, kind of,
Yes.
But it does.
Yeah. Oh, it really does. It really does. Yeah. Well, you've sort of already alluded to one of the things I wanted to ask you, because for someone that has done so much music and been in the game as long as you have, and has been so consistently prolific with your output, how do you stay inspired? You've done so much already. You've covered so much ground. You know your instrument. You're a master of your instrument. You know the instrument so well. How do you at this point stay inspired? I mean, you've already mentioned one example there with this particular album, but is that an obstacle for you that you have to surmount regularly? Do you have a way around that?
Well, as mentioned, I was looking for inspiration, and when I moved to Europe from Nashville, basically after the COVID thing, I was kind of done with the U.S. And I've been wanting to live in Europe for many, many years. So
right, same.
Coming over was sort of, I wasn't, making music wasn't on the front burner. Change of lifestyle was what was important to me.
Right.
So I would work from time to time, and the first year was spent in France. I had a French group that I really liked, and I would just do things, like a couple of gigs, 6 weeks would go by, go do 3 shows, and so it was really much more about the lifestyle change, trying to get relocated, which I've been doing ever since. But so when I was ready to record again, but I didn't know what, and it struck me to do a Jeff Beck tribute, because something I do always like to mention in interviews is the Robben Ford Guitar Dojo, which is the teaching platform that my partner and I have developed. I've spent a lot more time with the guitar since the development of the platform, and it's gotten me more into the guitar, whereas my focus in the past was really to develop myself as a singer and as a songwriter.
Right.
And I felt, I'm good with the guitar playing, cool. But after I started teaching, I started kind of challenging myself to come up with new things. So focus on the guitar, I thought, tribute to Jeff Beck. This is a challenge that I'm going to have to man up for, So that was it, it was like, that's how I kickstarted, myself. Even playing the Stratocaster, which, I really have never featured the Strat on my own. I've used it in more of a supportive role. With Miles Davis, I played the Strat. David Sanborn, I played the Strat. Whenever I was doing something as a supportive artist,
Love that. I love that. So you sort of almost gave yourself a new mountain to climb as the new challenge. I love that. I love that. That's something that I think everybody can take something away from. And you've worked with so many of the greats, and you've mentioned a few already. But who whether you've worked with them or not, or whether they're still with us or not, which are the musicians that you still continue to be perplexed by today? I mean, for me, it was some who you just can't understand how they're so goddamn good. For me, it would be someone like John Coltrane. I mean, was that man even human? I don't know. I think he came from space. Do you have your version of that, whether you've worked with them or not, and you look at them today and think, I have no idea how they did that.
Well, if it's even the living and those who have left us, I mean, certainly Coltrane would fall into that category. As a guitarist, Alan Holdsworth is the guy who, to me, is the most incomprehensible. And he for me is, I think of him as the John Coltrane of the guitar.
100%.
So those two, yeah.
100%. Yeah, equally a spaceman from space for sure, Alan Holdsworth. I saw him live in Wales, where I live in the UK. And for the first 5 minutes, it was hilarious because it was full of guitar players. The god had walked into the room and we were preparing to get our minds blown. And he didn't know how to turn his amplifier on for 5 minutes.
Oh, my gosh. There you go.
You were like, he is human.
True artist.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I totally concur with your choices there. Like I say, you've played with so many of the greats, and you've done so much musically, and you've been a part of so many major historical moments in music history, and you've lived a lot of life at the same time, I'm sure. So to steer away from music for a second, what life lessons have you learned from your very unique life journey that you've had to this point?
Wow. Life lessons.
It's a big one.
I mean, I've certainly learned life lessons, Okay, let's see. You have to be yourself. It's really important, for young people, to learn, I mean, the whole point of life lessons is to pass them on, right?
Yes.
So that hopefully somebody who's young will actually get it before it's, they're old or whatever. So, you need to be yourself. I also feel it's really important to follow your passion and not get caught in, some, a job that you don't like, right, or especially a job that you can't stand, just don't do it. And in music, I've always felt, if I may, because that's been my life has been a life in music. And as a musician, whenever I was trying to do something that wasn't organic to myself, it was a big mistake,
Right.
Thankfully, I didn't waste too much time doing that, But I was in Los Angeles at an early age, and good things happened to me there, but I was never really comfortable in the environment.
Right.
However, it seemed to be central headquarters for popular music. So I actually tried to, write music, record music that could be popular.
Right.
In a traditional sense, And it was the most miserable time of my life, In LA, I've never liked LA, And the day that I said, I can't stand it here, I'm getting out of here. And I did. And I moved up to San Francisco, on my own, and got a place. My oldest friend, we weren't that old at the time, but my closest old friend moved in with me, and it was really a reset for my. Got better after that. Just everything got better after that, and right. I would say continue to just kind of go up. I replugged in, right. to my roots.
Right.
I knew that I was fundamentally a blues guitar player who happened to like sophisticated music and, wanted to learn, more and more about harmony and, do interesting things, not just make music, not make hamburgers,
Right, right. Yeah.
I wanted to be a gourmet chef. So, it takes a big commitment, man. I was broke, I went through all of that after playing with superstars.
Wow.
I started all over again, because I couldn't do the thing.
Mm.
And it paid off.
So I suppose that the lesson underneath that is that you stay true to what you felt was your true calling inside. You weren't happy with the environment. You felt that you changed it, and from there, a whole cascade of more positive things happened for you because you were in true alignment with with you.
Yeah, that's a really, really good a good word to use. Alignment with, it's hard to say. You could say yourself. There's something kind of funny about that because you are yourself, So but how else do you put it,
Yeah.
But I do think that we come into this world with a trajectory. There is, some would call it karma, for instance, and I'm Buddhist, and
Okay.
I still, I haven't got, a set idea of what karma is. But again, what you said, it was perfect, alignment with what is going on with you. And you can struggle with it and fight it and try to make it different and stuff. It's all wrong,
Amen, man. Well, I'd love to quickly touch on the spirituality and the Buddhism stuff, if you're okay with it, before we circle back to the rock and roll. Because I'd love to just get a quick overview of your history with these sort of spiritual areas, and also what role, if any, do you feel that it has in informing or influencing, what you do with music?
I first encountered in a real way, a Buddhist teacher. His name was Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, Tibetan Lama. And he was in Boulder, Colorado. And after I toured with the first tour with Joni Mitchell and George Harrison, those two tours happened literally the same year. And I had a bunch of money. I didn't know quite what I was going to do with myself. And I moved to Boulder, Colorado, because I'd gone through there and I just loved it. I loved Boulder. So I had time and money, and we went to Boulder and lived there for a year. And became students of Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche during that period. He was speaking regularly, and it was you throw a rock and you'd hit a Buddhist,
Right.
in Boulder in those days. And so, that's where it began. And I've always been interested in spiritual pursuits,
Right, right.
I've read every type of religion, book, all of it. The Torah, and I started doing that in my teens for whatever the reasons. I was very drawn towards that, and music. And these are the two things that have really been my where my energy has gone.
Right. I love that.
Two things I've been drawn towards.
I love that.
Yeah, and Buddhism demands authenticity. So you have to be authentic. You have to be true to yourself, however you put that. If the answer is yes, it's yes. If the answer is no, it's no.
Right, right.
I tell you what, the best word I ever learned in my life was no.
Huh.
I went through a period, because I toured the world, especially with my group, the Blue Line, man. We were on the road for, many years straight. And
Right.
when we weren't on the road, we were recording a record,
Right.
or I was writing a record. And, so that band, I finally had to bail, and eventually started doing different things. And, promoters and agents, wanted to put me into the same rooms that I'd been playing already. I just said, no, I'm not doing that anymore. We're doing something different now. I mean, you have to take a chance.
Right, right, right.
I mean, there were no guarantees that was going to work out, but it was great. And so it was like I just started saying no to anything that did not resonate well with me. So there you go.
I love that. Wow. Well, man, I hope that we can do another one of these sometime because I'd love to do a whole feature on that because I'm fascinated by those areas as well. Spirituality. There's a lot of existential things that I grapple with still at this point. So it would be great to tap your knowledge on that at some point. But obviously, we've got to keep this one about the rock and roll. So I'm going to try and segue back to rock and roll from where we just were. As well as living a lot of life and learning a lot of lessons, which you've been kind enough to share some of with us so far, you've also seen the music industry change a lot from the time when you started. It was a very different industry, and now you're still doing your thing, and flying high now, and it's a very, very different industry. We've got streaming. People don't really buy records anymore. There's AI coming. Musicians coming up today, who were inspired by yourself, and they're practicing their instrument. They're going out into a very different industry. Do you have any thoughts on the industry today? Is it better? Is it worse? And do you have any words of inspiration or encouragement maybe for young guys coming up in this industry today?
Yeah. Wow. I don't know what it's like to be 20, anymore. I know what it was like to be 20 when I was 20. And there were tons of possibilities, it seemed, in those days. It was still, like no guarantees, I mean, I was poor, living with my band, all in one house and all of that, people sleeping on the couches and, whatever. But I got lucky, I was heard by Jimmy Witherspoon with my little group. I think I was 20. I was still 20. And Spoon hired us. We moved to Hollywood. We moved to L.A. And we all got a house together in Hollywood, Rents were cheaper. The house was, probably, $100 a month maybe, or 120 a month or whatever. Bad neighborhood, But you have 5 guys, and okay, it's $25 each a month, And you were making about $25 a month. So, that gave me some exposure that led to my being hired by the LA Express and Joni Mitchell. So suddenly, just out of nowhere, I was suddenly playing with very high-end musicians, one of the greatest, female artists of all time, traveling first class, and making a lot of money. So that, I don't know, man. Seems those days might be kind of gone. I don't know. It's a tough one. So I don't. Wow. Especially for those of us who are truly love music, that's what we want to do, is make music. There's the demand to be commercial is heavier and heavier, and you make no money on record sales. You have to perform, and where are you going to perform? I mean, it's awful today. I hate to say it, but wow. I can work because of my history, but it costs a lot more to travel now.
Yeah.
Bells cost a lot more, You can't, it costs you a couple of $1,000s to get your musical instruments, from London to Paris. So you can't take them. And you have to use gear that's already there. It's just everything, even for me, is difficult. It's not ideal. It has those kind of ideal circumstances any longer, Sort of like the salad days, the golden era seems to be gone. So I don't know, man, I really don't know. And I started teaching a long time ago, as a source of income. I didn't do it for fun. I've come to love it, and now I get from it. You know what I mean? It's become this beautiful, self-perpetuating thing. The RobbenFordGuitarDojo.com.
Check it out.
It's a mouthful. Robben Guitar Dojo. DOJO.com.
But that's why I referred to you at the start as a guitar guru. And little did I know that you were a spiritual guru as well. So that's
That
given
I
a
am
whole.
not. No, no, no.
Well, I mean, I totally agree with everything you're saying. I'm a musician myself. I'm performing in a hard rock band, and we do encounter all of the things that you just mentioned. But there's a certain kind of confirmation that comes from hearing someone like yourself say that you also experience some of those things. So it's not just us going through it; it's the changing territory that's affecting everybody. So there's a certain solace to come from that as well.
Well, and if I may, as said, if it's what you want to do, you should do it. And who knows what's going to come of that, You just don't know. Everything points towards something, and generally something terrible, but not necessarily,
Love it. Love it. Well, Robben, we've only got a few minutes left, so apologies for the fact that I'm rattling through these questions at warp speed. I'm trying to make sure we get everything in.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I've got one more question, and it's a personal one for myself. I'm being selfish because I'm a guitar player, and I've been playing guitar for about 20 years. I'm a rock and blues guy. That's my background. I can do all the fancy rock stuff. But speaking of challenges, I'm fascinated by jazz music. I listen to a lot of it, and I know nothing about it, and I want that to be my next challenge. So what can I do as a rock pentatonic guy to get myself down to start myself on the journey of the wonderful, mysterious, magical world of jazz guitar?
One thing you could do is join the Robben Ford Guitar Dojo. Sincerely, because I am self-taught, and I'm blues based, and so I learned everything on my own. The first course in the dojo, which you can do things in whatever order you want, but the first course is called Guitar the Way I Learned It. So I start with the pentatonic scale and just keep going. And beyond that, I'll tell you what I did, which was, because I was just a blues guitar player, playing Mike Bloomfield and B.B. King licks. I got a book, Mickey Baker Jazz Volume 1.
Okay.
And I learned chords. So I suddenly, instead of just having a 7th chord or a 9th chord, I had a 13th chord. I had a 13 flat 9 chord. I learned altered chords and how they move and take you from here to there. And then I remember it to this day vividly. I'm on the bandstand, and that was the first realization. I'm like, I don't know any chords. I'm playing a 9th chord here, a 9th chord there. We're blues, and some cowboy chords, G, C, D. So, okay, I learned the chords, and then I realized, I don't know what to play on these chords, So I got a book, and I learned scales. And I approached altered scales and, just diatonic movement, what happens with modes, which is still just the major scale starting on a different note.
Right.
So, okay, and I developed some knowledge, and I applied it to the guitar in the same way that I had the pentatonic scale.
Huh.
You know what I mean? Like, you learn the pentatonic scale, and you just play it. You're not going to hit a wrong note. Just keep playing them notes, them 5 notes all over the guitar. So, okay, diminished scale, just play it, That's how I applied it. And eventually started making some music with it,
Fascinating. Right. Well, I will take your advice on that and many other things that you've said in this wonderful but unfortunately short conversation, Robben. Thank you so much for the inspiration for the years of music. We've got to plug the brand new album. 2 Shades of Blue will be released on the 27th of March via Provogue and Artone Records. It is available to pre-order everywhere right now. Go and get it in your life. Robben, this has been a real honor. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you stopping by our humble podcast and gracing us with your pearls of wisdom.
My pleasure, James. And if I may, I always like to say, remember that streaming is for kids. And you can't stream a cup of coffee.
Love it. Love it.
James, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Really great to meet you, Robben. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, brother. Best wishes with the album.
Thank you.
Robben Ford, ladies and gentlemen. What an absolute gentleman. and an absolute beast on the instrument. Man, that guy's had an insane life. That guy has played with Miles Davis, for God's sake. And he still sounds as grounded and as hungry and as inspired and as curious and as passionate about the craft as ever before. And his new album rocks. Honestly, check it out. 2 Shades of Blue is coming out on March the 27th. Trust me, you need this in your life. You could pre-order it right now from wherever you get your music from. And for all the guitar players out there, check out the Robben Ford Guitar Dojo. I myself will most certainly be doing that as part of my long-term plan to relocate to somewhere nice and sunny on the Mediterranean, join a jazz band and spend my days playing jazz, eating good food, and sunning it up. Just haven't figured out how I'm going to pay for it all. But I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I thought he was a super cool dude. Dropped some serious pearls of wisdom on life and music and art and living and spirituality and all that stuff. We squeezed quite a lot into a short conversation. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And you can check out Robben at robbenford.com and on Instagram at robbenfordmusic. And if he rolls into your town to do a show, you make sure you get yourself there, man. Okay, that is us for this week. Thanks for listening. I'll be back next time with another awesome guest. In the meantime, click that goddamn subscribe button. What is wrong with you, man? Come on. And have a great week. Look after yourself. Look after each other.